Hey YouTube, it's Landon with Order the Traveling Hats, and today we're doing something with the GX. I ordered some parts. I've been waiting about a month for them to get here. Sorry for the anticipation. I think I mentioned that in the last video. But we finally got it here. We've got a roof rack from Victory 4x4 we're going to put on the GX. I decided immediately when I went to Rendezvous with the Ozarks back in October, I guess, that I was going to have to get a roof rack because I couldn't take my Gazelle tent because it won't fit inside because I've got the T4 and it's just too big when it's in the bag to really fit. I think it may have fit with the seats down, but that was kind of an untenable option for me, especially with all my other gear and stuff. There just wasn't really a great way to put it in there. Again, I think I've mentioned before, coming from a Gladiator that had a bed with my adventure rack and everything, I had a lot of space and I'm having to kind of pare down and condense things quite a bit to make the GX work. So I thought I would show you guys kind of how I'm going to install this, because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it the way the installation video says to do it because I don't have a helper. I'm going to have to kind of build it in place, which is going to be a little weird. And then I thought I would also show you kind of how I configure it to be able to use it with some of my existing hardware that I brought over from the Jeep. So why don't we go ahead and get started on that. I'll go ahead and show you what we got here, okay? Alright guys, just to kind of show you, this is a 10mm bolt. It's kind of long, it's got a little kind of thread locker on it and a rubber gasket. I think we reuse these, so I'm going to hold on to them. And at this point, the rail's unbolted. It should just lift off. So I'm going to try that. Yep, and it just comes off. There's kind of a weather stripping on it on both sides, and it just lifts off pretty easy once you get the bolt out. So we're going to set that to the side. And then we're going to do the other side real quick, because these don't take that long. They're surprisingly easy to do. Alright, the thing you really want to make sure and do is get an adequate amount, but not too much, RTV underneath the flange around these little plastic straws that are sticking out of the roof. And then I'm putting a little bit more on top underneath the rubber washers that I salvaged from the factory hardware. And then we're going to tighten these down snug, but not so snug we can't adjust them, just slightly, because then I still got to set the rail up here and get it bolted into place. So give me a second to get all that done. Hold on. All right, so now we're building this in place. I'm just kind of gonna have to do this in place and put the rails up here, and then we'll get kind of everything in place loose, and then I'm going to adjust it and tighten it up. Just because I don't have a helper to raise this thing up onto the roof, I'd have to do it by myself. I'd probably drop it, break a window, scratch the paint, you know, something bad. So we're gonna do it this way. I think this will work just fine. Everything's lining up just like it's supposed to. The mounts for the roof kind of only fit one way, and they're labeled F, M, and R. And so you kind of know how to put them in. It takes a lot of the guesswork out. There's a good video online that tells you how to do this, but again, in that video, it's from Victory 4x4. They assemble this on the ground with the mounts and everything, and then just kind of set it into place. So we're kind of doing this a little bit backwards. So I think I'm going to go ahead and tighten the roof mounts up after I get this on, just because I don't want that silicone to sit. Everything else is kind of loose, the hardware is, and I can adjust it where I want it once I get everything kind of together. So we're gonna work on this and get it kind of started. Now these are biting nuts. They've kind of got that flange on the back that will bite, so you don't have to get a wrench on them. Once they're kind of finger tight, they'll bite into the metal, which is really nice because I think it's going to be hard to get a wrench in there on them. Not impossible, but certainly not easy. So this will make getting it on a lot more efficient once we kind of have everything finger tight and in position. So I'm really liking the way this fits so far. It's gonna hug the contour of the GX extremely tightly, really, really well. I really quite like that. And there's still plenty of height adjustment. There's probably a 1/4 inch of adjustment at every mounting point, so we can really kind of get it fine-tuned to where we want it. So guys, we're now at the point where I'm placing the bolts on the driver's side for the crossbars. They're kind of difficult to line up, but you know, we're getting there. So once I get them in place, we'll be able to easily put the wind deflector on the front and the trim piece on the back. And then I think we'll be able to kind of tighten everything up and kind of go from there. All right, guys, so it's done. We've got it all installed. Just gonna kind of take you around and show you the whole rack here. It's really a great rack. I'm really proud of this product. Really glad I got it from Victory 4x4, made in the US. Really solid. One of the nice things you'll note is they've machined in T-slot holes so you can easily get your T-slot fasteners in here and slide them so you can mount your stuff. Now, I have alternated these kind of every other side. So there's not one here, it's on the other side. And then we get here. Well, that one's on the other side too. This one's on this side. This one's on this side. This one's not, and this one's not. So I've tried to kind of alternate them, but I ended up going like 2 on one side, 2 on the other. But either way, I can get to them and be able to put my T-fasteners in when we're putting stuff on. That's not the only way you can put a T-fastener in. You can't kind of slide it in the slot anywhere, but the machined spots really make it a lot easier to do. Overall, now that this rack's on, you can see I'm kind of moving the whole GX, just pulling on it. It's really sturdy, really strong. It's not gonna go anywhere. I haven't driven the GX yet, but it's a really sleek rack. If we kind of look here, you can see it fits with the contour of the body really, really well. There's just enough that you can see light through here. And then it gets a little bit bigger of a gap back here. Now this is all the way down on the mounts, but it also hangs off a little bit on the back. I guess the GX is kind of wedge shaped, so you can see it looking down at here that it kind of hangs off the back, but then kind of the rack is straight, but the GX is not. So you end up kind of on the body at the front, but not at the back. So that's okay. It looks really good. It rounds out the GX really well. From the front, you can see that it fits really tight. It's really a close fit to the body because that weather stripping is literally sitting right down on the body. So I really like the way that sits a lot. And I have no complaints whatsoever. All right, guys, so I just got the roof rack kind of done. It's been a little bit. I was waiting on some parts to get here. I needed to order some hardware, believe it or not. So the hard part was getting the screws, the machine screws that I needed that worked with the T-nuts. This is a 10 series instead of 20 series. It was not compatible with the T-nuts that I had from the extrusion overland rack on the Jeep. And so I had to get 1/4 inch by 20 threaded machine nuts. I'll get it out in a minute. And they had to be really short. So I thought 1/2 inch would work. That was way too long. They'd bottom out in the rail. Ends up you need, correction, you need to get 1/2 inch. I had 3/4 inch and they were too long. 1/2 inch is what you need. The tricky part was mounting like the Rome case here because it's fairly thick, probably 3/16 steel. So they're really short, but 3/4 was way too long and 1/2 was just barely long enough. So it was enough to get it on there. Once it was tight, it went ahead and tightened down and cinched down good and it's secure, but it was just kind of tricky getting that done. I've secured the Rome case with its mount and it's locked on. I can take it off pretty easily. I've got recovery stuff in there and winch stuff for when we do eventually add the winch. So I've got my winch blankets, my hard shackles. I've got a soft shackle inside, some recovery straps. I also put my Go Treads up there because in the Jeep, I had a bunch of stuff, tools and things up there that were able to move inside down in the, inside the Lexus. So now I've got space up there. So I decided to put the Go Treads there for now. I may move them later. Then I've got my trusty Gazelle tent secured. And we've got that just kind of secured up there with a ratchet strap, but I put some just kind of tie down points that are bolted directly into the rails on each side so we can just kind of lace it on. And then I put my Sunrider on from, or Sunseeker rather, from Rhino Rack. This is a great awning. It's about 8 feet, which is just a little bit long. You can kind of see it sticks out just a little bit beyond the slope of the roof rack, but it doesn't really extend beyond where the roof rack hits the roof line. So it looks pretty good. And then when you go around back here to get to the back, it kind of comes to the little winglet or whatever's on top of the lift gate there. But it doesn't really extend past it. If you look, it just kind of comes to the end and stops. So that worked out pretty well. I was happy about that because I really didn't want to have to get a new awning. I actually really like this awning. It's lightweight and pretty simple. So I think what we need to do is show you guys kind of what I had to do to get it to work. This is the Rhino rack mounting hardware that came with it. So, you know, it's got 2 holes drilled in it. It's just an L bracket, really. You can kind of see, I think if we come up here, you can kind of see where it bolts on to the awning. But there's a lip on the rack where this couldn't sit flat. So what I did was I just got some aluminum spacers that are about a 1/2 inch, and then got some bolts that would work with that and went into T-nuts. And I did that front and rear, and that really secured this on well. And I didn't have to buy the Victory 4x4 awning mounts. They were a little over $100 for the pair. I already had these, and the spacers just came from the hardware store. They were, I don't know, $3 or $4. So saved a little bit of money there. This is what I'm talking about with the tie down points for the tent. This is just ratchet strapped on and holds it in place really well, and we can get it off when we want to go camping. So overall, this is kind of configured how I think it's going to stay. We may, you know, put something up front. Certainly there's a couple rails up there. I could put recovery boards if I wanted to. I have the Go Treads and like those pretty well. Hopefully I never need them, but you know. When we come around the other side, I've already been kind of looking because I want to be able to take my axe and my shovel, and I think I can put some quick fists in here, right here, along these where the rails are mounted in. Just mount the quick fist directly to it. And I think the axe will fit kind of angled up this way, and then the shovel will end up fitting just kind of angled over the top of the rack here and be held in place by quick fists when we go out. And I think that will work. We'll see. I'm going to play around with that a little bit because I really don't want to hold those inside because they get dirty. I'd like to be able to hold them outside when we go places and still be able to remove them easily to use them. And just, I don't like driving around town with those on. Someone probably will think they need them more than I do. So that's gonna kind of conclude the rack. It's on and I really like it. I haven't seen a big drop in fuel economy. I just took it out this weekend and drove down I-40 over to Russellville from about Maumelle, and I got about 19.9 miles per gallon on that run going and coming. So it really did pretty good on the highway. I haven't seen a big hit in fuel economy despite having the Roam case up top. So overall, pretty happy with that. Really can't complain. And that'll kind of close out the video for us today. So I'm Landon. This is Order the Traveling Hats, and we hope to see you guys out there.